Sometimes, the greatest gift God gives us is the gift of a closed door. We may not see it at first, but in time, the reason will become clear. We've all been there. You've invested your heart, your time, and your soul into a relationship, only for it to fall apart. Whether it's a friendship, a romantic bond, or even a connection at work, it can feel like a part of you is torn away. The pain is real. The questions linger. Why? Why did this happen? But there is a truth that transcends all the confusion. A truth so profound it has the power to set you free from the bitterness and the heartache. The truth is this: God never removes something without replacing it with something better. You might not see it right away. You may be left standing in the silence of a broken relationship, asking why God allowed it to happen. But, as C.S. Lewis so beautifully put it, where God is taking you, they can't go. This wisdom speaks not of rejection, but of redirection. In the grand narrative of your life, there are seasons. Some people, though they were once meant to be in your life, simply cannot join you in the next chapter of your journey. Before we continue, please remember to subscribe below to stay up to date with our latest videos. Every subscribe, like, and comment helps us keep the C.S. Lewis channel going. Now, keep listening. Think about it. If God is calling you to a higher place, spiritually, emotionally, or even physically, not everyone can go with you. Some people, for all their love and support, may not be ready for the elevation you're about to experience. Their beliefs may not align with yours anymore. Their lifestyle may conflict with the growth God is calling you to. They might even hold you back from the very path you're meant to follow. And this doesn't mean they are bad people. It simply means that where God is taking you, they cannot go. There is a deep spiritual truth here, one that echoes through the Bible and through the words of great thinkers like C.S. Lewis. If you want to soar, you must be willing to leave behind the things that weigh you down. Perhaps it's an old relationship that no longer serves you. Or maybe it's a mindset that holds you captive. But in order to ascend, you must let go. The Bible is clear on this point. Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us, "For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven." There's a season to grow, to learn, and to prepare. There is a season to let go. But letting go isn't always easy. It's painful. It hurts to admit that someone who was once so close to you may no longer be part of your future. It feels like a loss even if you know deep down it's the right thing. But this is where faith comes in, trusting that God knows what He is doing, even when we don't. As we walk through the pain of loss, it's important to remember that it is not a punishment. It is simply part of the redemptive process. God uses the end of relationships to prepare you for what's next. As Lewis said, you cannot go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. What is God preparing you for? What greater things lie ahead for you when you have the courage to release what He has taken away? As you take this step, know that His hand is guiding you, gently leading you toward the greater purpose He has designed for your life. You will discover in time that the pain of letting go was nothing compared to the joy of what He has waiting for you. Forgiveness isn't about excusing the hurt. It's about releasing your heart from the weight of bitterness and trusting in God's justice. When a relationship ends, whether by betrayal, miscommunication, or simply drifting apart, it can feel like a wound that never heals. We cling to the memory of what was, and the pain of loss becomes a constant companion. The hurt may transform into anger, resentment, or self-blame, making it difficult to move forward. But the heart of healing, as C.S. Lewis reminds us, is found not in holding on, but in letting go. To be more precise, it's found in forgiving. It's not an easy path. In fact, it may be the hardest thing you've ever done. Forgiveness does not mean condoning the wrong, nor does it mean you have to forget the pain caused. It does mean releasing the hold that anger and bitterness have on your soul. This, my friend, is where true freedom lies. Freedom isn't found in revenge or in holding someone else's mistakes against them. It's found in the ability to move forward without the burden of resentment. It's found in trusting God to handle what you cannot. As the Bible says, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord." Romans 12:19. God does not need us to carry the weight of someone else's wrongs. He will handle it, and in doing so, He allows us to move forward with peace. C.S. Lewis said, "To be a Christian means to forgive the inexcusable, because God has forgiven the inexcusable in you." This is the core of forgiveness. Not only do we forgive others, but we also forgive ourselves. Many of us carry guilt over past relationships, for things said, things left unsaid, or actions we wish we could take back. The truth is, God does not hold our past against us. He has already forgiven us. We must let go of the guilt, just as we let go of bitterness toward others. The act of forgiveness may not come easily or quickly. Sometimes it's a daily decision, a choice to release the weight of the past so that we can move toward the future. But as we forgive, God begins to heal. He begins to soften our hearts and free us from the shackles that hold us in a prison of pain. Forgiveness also paves the way for growth. In letting go of what is past, we allow ourselves to grow spiritually. As C.S. Lewis so beautifully put it, the pain now is part of the happiness then. Though it may seem impossible to see it at the time, God is using the difficulty of this season to mold you into a stronger version of yourself. He is teaching you patience, humility, and the grace that only comes from walking through a trial. Jesus taught us to forgive 70 times 7, Matthew 18:22, which symbolizes an unlimited willingness to forgive. As we forgive, we open the door to peace, both with others and with God. The more we practice forgiveness, the more we come to understand that our ability to forgive mirrors God's boundless forgiveness toward us. But in the end, forgiveness isn't just about the other person, it's about you. When you forgive, you free your own heart. It no longer carries the weight of the past. It no longer holds on to the chains of pain. When you let go, you make room for something new. God's plan for your life is one of freedom, and freedom begins with forgiveness. When we cannot trace God's hand, we can trust His heart. How many times have we wondered, in the midst of pain or loss, why God allows certain things to happen in our lives? We pray, we ask, and yet sometimes the answers seem distant. But there is a profound truth to cling to in those moments. God's timing is perfect. When God removes a relationship from your life, it is not always immediately clear why. We look at the empty space where that person once was, and we question. We grieve. We long for answers. But this is the moment to trust, even when we do not understand. C.S. Lewis once said, "You are never too old to set another goal, or to dream a new dream." We are in a constant state of growth, and sometimes God removes things not to punish us, but to prepare us for something greater. He knows what lies ahead. He knows the potential for growth in our hearts, and He knows the people and circumstances that will best nurture that growth. Think of the seasons of nature. The leaves must fall, the flowers must fade, and the soil must rest before the new buds can bloom. It's a process that may feel like a death, but it's actually the birth of something new. So too in your life, the ending of one chapter may be the precursor to a beautiful new beginning. And though it may seem like a void, it is not a void. It is space being made for what God intends to plant in your heart. This is where trust comes in. God's wisdom surpasses our understanding. We may not know why certain relationships fade away, but we can trust that He has a plan. His hand is guiding us toward something better. A person who will support us in the direction He wants us to go. A friendship that will align with the new season of our life, or even the quiet solitude we need to grow closer to Him. God often uses timing to redirect us. How many times have we seen someone we cared for drifting away, only to realize later that it was God's protection? He sees what we cannot. He sees what will hurt us in the future, and He makes a way for us to walk away from what might destroy us. As C.S. Lewis wisely said, God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our consciences, but shouts in our pains. The pain we feel in these moments of loss may be the shout that leads us closer to the very heart of God. In this we must remember that God's heart is good. When He closes a door, it's not to leave us in darkness. He's simply guiding us toward a better door. It may take time to see it, but when we look back, we often find that the end of one relationship was the catalyst for a new chapter of growth. And when that new chapter comes, when you finally understand the wisdom in what God has done, you'll see that His timing was perfect. You'll see that the wait was necessary. You'll be grateful for the lessons learned, for the person you've become, and for the new paths He is opening before you. So, when you cannot trace God's hand in your life, trust His heart. Trust that He knows what He's doing. And in the waiting, in the loss, and in the quiet moments when the future seems uncertain, lean in. Lean into Him, and know that He is always faithful. God allows pain to change us because through it He reveals His strength in our weakness. There is no avoiding it. Pain is a part of life. It is universal. It touches each one of us, often when we least expect it. Whether the pain comes from the end of a relationship, a personal betrayal, or the loss of something precious, the ache is undeniable. But if we pause for a moment and reflect, we may begin to see that there is a purpose in the pain. As C.S. Lewis so profoundly put it, hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny. This truth is difficult to grasp in the midst of suffering, but it is through pain that we are shaped, refined, and made stronger. God does not bring pain into our lives to break us. He allows it to mold us into who we are meant to be. Think about the process of refining gold. The metal is heated to extreme temperatures, and the impurities are burned away, leaving only the pure gold behind. In the same way, God uses pain to refine our character. It is not an easy process. In fact, it's incredibly painful. But if we allow it, pain can lead to spiritual maturity. Through our trials, we become more aware of our own weaknesses, our dependence on God, and the depth of His grace. There is strength in pain, not the kind that comes from being calloused or hardened, but the strength that comes from dependence on God. When we face difficult times, we are forced to rely not on ourselves, but on the One who holds our future. This is the strength that comes through surrender, the strength that comes through acknowledging that we cannot control everything, but we trust in the one who controls all. C.S. Lewis said, "You cannot go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. When you face pain, you are at a crossroads. You can choose to wallow in despair, or you can choose to trust that this is not the end. It is simply a chapter, one that God will use to shape you, refine you, and build your faith. This is where the beauty of pain emerges. It is in the breaking that we are made whole. It is in the loss that we learn to value what truly matters. Pain has a way of stripping away the distractions and bringing us face to face with the things that truly matter. Our relationship with God, our relationship with God, our purpose, and the people who will journey with us through life. Consider the life of Jesus. His greatest triumph came after his deepest suffering. His death on the cross was the ultimate expression of love. And from that moment of agony came the greatest victory the world has ever known. In the same way, our own moments of suffering can lead to our most profound growth. In these moments, we must remember that God is with us in the pain. As Psalm 34:18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." You may feel alone, but God is right there, walking with you through the trial. And while the pain may seem unbearable at times, He promises that it will not last forever. There is joy on the other side. The key is to trust that pain is not pointless. It is part of the process of becoming. Every trial, every heartbreak, every loss has the potential to lead us closer to God, closer to the person He's calling us to be. And as you walk through the fire of pain, know that you are not walking alone. God is beside you, holding your hand and guiding you towards something greater. When God closes a door, He opens a window. But often, we must trust Him even when we cannot see that window. Sometimes, it's easy to feel as though the end of a relationship is a rejection, a message that we are somehow unworthy or unlovable. We might feel left in the dark, as if God has abandoned us or is withholding something good. But what if the door that's been closed wasn't a rejection at all, but a redirection? C.S. Lewis once said, "You are never too old to set another goal, or to dream a new dream." In the face of loss, we are often presented with the opportunity to reassess where we are and where God is leading us. The pain of loss can make us feel as if we're walking through a wilderness, unsure of the next step. But, in reality, that wilderness is often the place where God does His deepest work. The truth is, sometimes relationships are taken away not because they were inherently bad, but because they were no longer aligned with God's purpose for our lives. We may have clung to the relationship, believing it was a vital part of our future. But, just as we cannot hold on to something that isn't meant for us, we cannot force a relationship that God has not ordained to last. God's redirection is always for our good. His plans are higher than ours, His vision is broader, and His heart is full of love for us. When we step back and reflect on the relationships that have been removed, we often realize that they were holding us back in ways we didn't even see at the time. Perhaps we were too comfortable. Perhaps we were too afraid of being alone. But God, in His loving wisdom, knows exactly what we need, and when we need it. The key to understanding this redirection is to trust. Trust that God is working for your good, even when it doesn't feel like it. Trust that He is preparing something far greater than we can imagine. God often uses the end of one relationship to lead us toward greater things. When we stop looking backward and start looking ahead, we open ourselves to the new opportunities that God is preparing for us. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 3:5-6, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." When we trust God with our heart, when we release our grip on what was, we give him the freedom to guide us to something even better. It may be a new relationship that brings us closer to his purpose. It may be an opportunity for growth that we would never have experienced had we stayed where we were. The beauty of God's redirection is that it leads us closer to him. When we are in relationships that distract us from his will, or when we hold on to what he has already asked us to release, we block the very blessings he wants to pour into our lives. But when we trust his redirection, we position ourselves to receive greater peace, greater joy, and greater alignment with his plan. In the end, every relationship that ends is not a failure. It is simply a chapter in the greater story God is writing for us. It's part of the process that leads us closer to who we were always meant to be. As we release the old, we make room for the new, for a deeper relationship with God and with those who are meant to walk alongside us in the future. God is always faithful. His plans are always good. And while we may not understand his ways, we can trust his heart. He is guiding us, step by step, through every door he opens, even when it seems like one has been closed. In solitude, we find the silence that speaks to our souls, where God can truly meet us and transform us. As human beings, we were created for relationships. From the very beginning, God said, "It is not good for man to be alone." Genesis 2:18. We thrive in connection with others, and we were made for community. But sometimes, God calls us into solitude, a season where we are asked to step away from the noise and distractions of the world, to focus on him alone. This season of solitude can feel isolating, even painful. When a relationship ends, or when we experience separation, the ache of loneliness can be overwhelming. We may feel abandoned, as though we've been left behind. But in reality, solitude is not abandonment. Solitude is a gift, and it is in these quiet, still moments that God does his deepest work within us. C.S. Lewis once said, "We are in fact as far away from God as we choose to be." Solitude is the time God gives us to choose him. When we are alone, we are forced to confront our own hearts. We must face our fears, our insecurities, and our dependence on others for validation. It is in these quiet moments that we can hear God's voice more clearly, free from the distractions that often drown out his whispers. This doesn't mean that God doesn't care about relationships. On the contrary, he created us for connection. But sometimes we get so caught up in our relationships with others that we neglect our primary relationship, the one we are meant to have with God. God allows us to experience the silence of solitude so that we can refocus on him and learn to depend on his presence. The Bible is filled with stories of great men and women who spent time alone with God. Jesus himself often withdrew to solitary places to pray and reconnect with his Father. Luke 5:16. There, in the quiet, he was strengthened, refreshed, and given clear direction for his mission. This is the power of solitude. It may feel like a desert at first, but it is actually a place where God refreshes our souls. The beauty of solitude lies in its ability to reveal God's heart for us. It is in these moments that we realize we are never truly alone. As Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God. Solitude invites us to be still, to rest in the knowledge that God is with us. When we are alone, He is our companion. When we are broken-hearted, He is our healer. When we are confused, He is our guide. This season of solitude is not meant to last forever, but during it, God may reveal parts of your soul that need healing or growth. He may use this time to speak words of comfort, words that will guide you to your next season. He may call you to new levels of intimacy with Him, teaching you to rely not on others, but on His faithful presence. In solitude, we learn that God is enough. We don't need the approval of others to feel whole. We don't need to be in constant connection to feel valued. In solitude, we find that God's love is sufficient for us. His grace is enough. His presence is more than enough. And when this season of solitude passes, when God brings the right relationships into your life once more, you will find that your heart is stronger, more whole, and more centered in Him than ever before. You will be able to love others not out of need, but out of the overflow of God's love in your heart. Solitude may be a hard lesson to learn, but it is one of the most beautiful gifts that God can give. It teaches us to hear His voice clearly, to trust His love deeply, and to find peace in His presence. God's plans are always better than our dreams. What we lose in the present is only a small price to pay for the treasures He has waiting for us. As we stand at the end of a chapter, we often find ourselves wondering what the future holds. The relationships we've lost, the paths we've had to walk away from, seem like broken pieces scattered along our journey. It's easy to become fixated on what's behind us, to mourn what could have been, and to wonder if we will ever experience true happiness again. But here's the truth. God has something greater waiting for you. The relationships that were taken, the doors that were closed, were not the end of your story. They were simply the preparation for the story that God is still writing in your life. C.S. Lewis once said, "There are no ordinary people. You have never talked to a mere mortal. Each of us is on a journey, and God uses every season, both the good and the painful, to shape us into the people He has called us to be. When relationships end, it's not the end of our story. It's the beginning of new possibilities. God is not in the business of taking things away without giving something better in return." The end of a relationship is often the clearing away of what is no longer aligned with His purpose for your life. In that space, He can place what will bring you closer to His will, what will enrich your life, and what will help you grow into the person He has designed you to be. We often cannot see the future clearly. We may wonder if we'll ever find love again, if we'll ever experience true joy, or if the hurt we're feeling now will ever subside. But God promises us that our future is brighter than we can imagine. As Jeremiah 29:11 declares, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." God's plans for us are good, and they lead to a hope-filled future. The loss you've experienced is not a punishment. It's God's redirection. It's His way of guiding you towards something better, something that aligns more closely with His will for your life. Trust that His plan is greater than your own understanding. Trust that He is always working for your good, even when the path seems uncertain. As you reflect on the relationships that have ended, let this truth sink in. You are not defined by the people who leave your life. You are defined by the love of God, which remains constant. And as He shapes you through your experiences, He prepares you for the future He has in store, a future filled with peace, purpose, and abundant joy. So take heart. You are not walking this journey alone. The God who has carried you through the pain, the loneliness, and the loss is the same God who is leading you toward a future that is greater than you can even imagine. He has plans for your life that are far beyond anything you've ever dreamed. And as you trust Him, as you let go of the past and embrace the future, you will see His goodness unfold in ways you never thought possible. God has a greater future for you. The relationships He has removed were never the destination. They were only part of the journey. Now, step forward in faith, trusting that the best is yet to come. As we reach the end of this journey, it's important to reflect on the lessons we've learned. The relationships that God removes from our lives are not signs of rejection, but are part of His perfect plan to guide us toward growth, healing, and a brighter future. Trust in His timing, surrender to His redirection, and remember that every loss has a greater purpose. When you let go of what is no longer meant for you, you open yourself up to all the beauty that God has in store. The God who takes away is the same God who provides. As you reflect on these truths, consider what God might be calling you to let go of in your own life. Trust that He is making room for something better, something that will lead you closer to His purpose for you. What lesson has God been teaching you through the relationships in your life? How has He used loss to guide you towards something greater? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the C.S. Lewis channel for more messages of inspiration and faith. Let's continue to grow together on this journey of discovering God's love and purpose for our lives.
Thank you.